lights above clicking off as he swung his eyes and attention at the change in course. Then suddenly the lights returned to illuminate the scene like the frightening start to a wondrous surprise party. The shelves, seemingly endless and wide, were stacked from the floor to the highest parts of the ceiling, with Halloween decorations from all eras and times. It was a staggering collection, a fascinating display, as if time capsules filled during the autumn seasons from every year in history prior were all emptied into these shelves. It seemed almost magical. The bright orange went on, rows and rows, a veritable army of pumpkins, the dark green of witches' complexions, the cracked and decayed brown shades of their broomsticks, and fire-blackened brewing pots. Ghosts and golems and goblins stood watch, monster masks and beast furs, toy swords and pirate peg legs, and they all looked so very real. The pirate hats felt like they were still wet and smelled like salty seawater, as if recently, very recently, pulled from the foaming seas. Yet this wasn't a seaman's village or fisherman's spot. This was somewhere deep in the vast spaces within North Dakota proper, landlocked on all sides. This was the Badlands, nothing but sky and grass for hours in every possible direction. Brenden was spitting distance from rural mid-continent Canada. How could these shelves, these objects, these treasures smell and feel like they were just taken from the dank drink? How could they be here now? But if so, even if that excused the wetness of the old artifacts, it didn't explain the scent nor the feel that these were someone else's possessions all too recently. To the right, treasures and clothes. To the left, brass bells, golden trinkets, and a row of little counterweights for rigging things. What appeared just past the rows of little weights was some kind of ancient, odd, miniature pulley system hung over the aisle as he walked down. And the pulley network was bound together by tiny strands of truly realistic-looking rope. A whole webbed network of lifts, pulleys, and strands of rope just overhead, and upon closer inspection, cargo crates and tiny little figurines, as if Brenden was a pudgy, near-teenage giant in a tiny town square, or perhaps a miniature harbor holding mini pirates and criminals safe from onrushing torrents and deadly storms. Yet how could this be right here, in the moment, now? Who could build such an intricate and near awe-inspiring collection of tiny artifacts and miniatures? The ghost of the seemingly imaginary shopkeeper? All the details of this little pirate's hut seemed so lifelike. All that was missing from it. Brenden looked up and down the poorly lit aisleways. It was a host of tiny, hauntingly realistic ships. That, and of course, a blood-black ocean to sail them on, the haunting full moon high overhead. Brenden could almost feel the fleets of pirate vessels nearby, with flying skulls and bones flags just above their black sails. They weren't far off, either. He knew in his heart. He could almost hear the pirates' songs and feel the oceanic spray on his bare forearms. Suddenly a hand clasped firmly atop his shoulder, locking his joints in place and his face in a mask of sheer terror. Suddenly all his curiosity fell away, and there was only paralyzing fear in its place, bubbling up inside him, rising up like his lunch. The hand on his shoulder was not his dad's. His dad barely made contact with him in all these days. His dad's booming voice would have announced that Brenden had been caught. No, this was someone else, lost in the deep labyrinth of this magical store. This hand was not known to him, nor was it friendly or family. This hand was a fear-inducing and foreign to his way of life. This hand, he determined, was a threat. 3 years of junior judo took hold of his growing, awkward frame, and terror gave way to near-teenage rage. Muscles pumped suddenly with oxygenated blood. Brendan's eyes closed as he focused on the task at hand. His hands shot upward and grasped the attacker's hand, locking onto it like an alligator's jaw clamping down on prey. With truly basic shift of Brendan's weight, the attacker took sudden and unexpected flight. Brenden had seen few upsides to being short and chubby at that exact moment in his short life, but it made him an easy study for the art of judo, and in that moment he felt a slight salve of peace upon his otherwise meager appearance. The attacker went heels over tea kettle and landed in a heap on the floor before Brenden. Unfortunately for the pirate display and all the hundreds of pulleys, weights, crates, and miniatures, his attacker was long-legged. This explained how Brenden earned his takedown so effortlessly. The tall and long-bodied member members of his judo team were just easy targets for those with body mass and lower centers of gravity. Now his attacker had not only been propelled off his feet and to the hard ground, but also had been wrapped up and tied by the pulley webs and tiny ropes. He was a writhing mess on the floor, and words weren't coming out of him, at least none that Brenden understood. Brenden knew only the fear of the moment and the joy of the successful takedown. All else was adrenaline and terror, and his feet took flight once more. Without word or sound, Brenden dashed further into the flickering lights of the magical and mysterious store as his attacker grunted out odd, unrecognizable syllables. The sunlight streaming through the front windows was officially lost. The door chimes were now long forgotten. Brenden was now sprinting forward at full speed into the ever-dimming lights and glow of the store, even deeper into old things and new adventures. Brenden dared not even look back, and for once in his life his body and mind were in sync, putting distance between his body and the bound and fumbling body of the man who grabbed him in the flickering aisle. Now, however, he almost wished for the flickering lights overhead. The area of the store he was in now was more like a flickering light once every 10 or 20 feet. This was out of some kind of nightmare, Brenden felt, but what was to be done now? He had an attacker behind him, and he was lost inside a vast, frightening space. He needed to find an exit, a path outside, once again find the sunlight. Once out, he could find his dad, make sense of the issue, and leave this odd little town behind. But first and foremost in his mind, Brenden needed an exit sign, some kind of route to make sure escape. A door, a hatch, a way out. He would be happy to take any odd, obscure version of a red exit sign so long as it led out. The aisles of shelves had grown farther apart, more and more of them empty and covered in dust. Brenden could feel a vast emptiness and almost a stillness. No, more like a loneliness in this newfound area of the store. The more he ran, the fewer aisles or shelves he even saw. The space and darkness felt like more of a storeroom, more of a discarded, unused area. Not a light and nothing to trip Brenden up or impede his progress. He felt as though he had escaped his attacker for the time being, but now there was something altogether different going on. There was something very wrong. The lights above were suddenly different somehow, changed from before. Gone were the luminescent bulbs with cracked covers giving off shoddy artificial sunlight. Replacing them were what appeared to be paper lanterns, colored like jack-o'-lanterns. Orange orbs with crooked smiles and triangular eyes now gave off a warm glow far above. Also new to his view were oil lamps spread apart in a line as if lighting a path, now appearing in front of him yards away but growing closer. His sprinting limit having been reached, Brenden finally ceased his fearful running and took stock of his wildly changed surroundings. Then, in that stranded, standstill moment, as his heart raced further in his childish chest, he felt an even greater, bolder fear grow to full size within. His breath shortened and the room began to spin just a bit. He swiftly knelt, raising his arms above his head, and tried to calm his breathing. Something altogether odd or mysterious, or dare say even magical, seemed to be occurring. He didn't believe it, yet he beheld it. He refused to agree with his eyes and what they were presenting to his mind, yet it was being presented to him nonetheless. A few more deep, slow breaths, and Brenden's clarity returned. His heart rate slowed. His mind cleared a bit. Surely this was a wing in the store, which was being transformed into a vast museum or haunted house. The aisles vanishing could be a part of the space's reconstruction. The lights, some kind of trick played on the construction manager by his employees. The lack of other sources of light and the deep darkness covering his tracks, and the inability to find where he entered this new space. All circumstantial, he knew. This, at any moment, would be dispelled by an open door or a walkie-talkie chatter from the construction team. Brenden almost laughed at the absurdity of his own imagination. He felt unsure of his beliefs in many things, but logic had to put an end to his childish, wild musings here. He took a calming, cleansing breath, then another, and felt a smile return to his face. And yet, Brenden's mind recalled no such raised roof or warehouse space where he'd stood outside the Old Things and New Adventures store. There's nothing behind it but vast open fields and farm roads. The ceiling, if it could be called that, was now so high overhead that he could barely make out the shape or design of the lights, except the telltale design, flavor of Halloween that they were oozing. How could this be here? How did I get here? He thought. Brenden recalled no sloping ground, sudden stairwell. If he had sprinted into a stairwell, there would have been nothing to stop him from flying downward into the assured injuries awaiting him below. There was no way he had descended deeper into the earth upon a sloping angle that extreme either. The sheer physics requirement of it tore his theory to pieces. Here he knelt, beneath a high black ceiling, bathed in gently glowing orange light. There were oil lamps ahead of him, leading him further into the odd new space, and he felt again the call that had brought him into the store in the first place. It felt like it had been hours now since he'd seen his dad. He dashed so carelessly, knowing that North Dakota had nothing he hadn't seen before, but as a famous ginger girl and her dog once said, he didn't feel as if he even resided in North Dakota anymore. There's no way back now. Only the darkness looming and hanging over me. If there was a path back in some way or method, he would have taken it. He would have braved his attacker, found the front door, and found his dad searching for him in the tiny town. Together, Brenden and his dad would have found validation and justice, and Brenden would have asked forgiveness for his haste in leaving. He and his dad had been a team since his mother passed. Now he realized that he had left his dad all alone in North Dakota, and he had found himself here, brought here by his own sneakers and his feet and his momentum. He had often wished that his fairly limited sprinting ability could take him to another place, somewhere that outlawed bullies and denied all other forms of royalty, crowning only him, Brenden Badt, as king and ruler. In his imagination, once called vast and full of possibilities by a grade school teacher, he had seen such sights. But this wide, cool darkness was another item entirely. He did not want to rule and reign or even exist within this vast darkness. However, the only path left behind him at all was illuminated by the floor lamps. The lanterns on the ceiling seemed farther away than ever, and the lamps at his feet were like the warmest and most welcoming thing in his whole world. And so Brenden took heart as best he could and recalled passages from a book his mother sometimes read to him. You are a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Brenden Badt stepped forward as bravely as he could manage, taking in this odd situation one stocky stride at a time. This defied logic, reason, and even sanity, and even as a child he knew that, but his mother had taught him not to always believe with what his eyes relayed. He leapt forward instead, with his heart filled with positivity and his mind open as his mother had led him. He had no other path or choice or option. Brenden Badt marched on, bathed in lamplight, no longer concerning himself with the ever-rising ceiling or the vast growing darkness. He had neither sword nor shield, armor nor torch, but the path before him was as clear as it could be. For now, anyway, he thought to himself, attempting to rally all the courage he could. A lot has been going on